Namaskar, I'm Harpreet Kaur and I welcome you all to our live and interactive online training on online and digital education in the Lens of NEP 2020. You are watching us live on eVidya Channels 6 to 12 and also on our YouTube handle CIET Official. This training program is brought to you by Central Institute of Educational Technology, that is CIET-NCERT, New Delhi. And today we are in day 3 of the training session. On day 3, we are going to learn about immersive technologies, AR, VR. This is going to be the topic. You have heard these terms, right? AR, VR. But what exactly these terms are and what these concepts are and how these immersive technologies are a game changer when it comes to education. We will explore all these things and we will also have few demonstrations for you. So if you wish to participate in the session with your questions, suggestions, feedback, and you want to understand more about these technologies, please feel free to get in touch with us. Our phone number is 8800440559. Our email ID is training.helpdesk@ciet.nic.in, and on our YouTube handle CIET Official as well. You can send us your questions, suggestions, and of course your feedback. Now friends, it's a 5-day, 5-hour training program. So that means that on day 5, once the session gets over, we will be releasing assessment courses. If you wish to attempt the assessment, please do that. All the guidelines related to the same are given on our CIET website. If you score more than 70% in the assessment, you'll be granted a certificate that you can download from DIKSHA portal. So keep on adding those feathers in your cap, keep on accumulating those certificates, and now let's move on. And it's time for me to introduce you all to our guests for the session. So we are joined by Dr. Amit Ranjan, Sir is Assistant Professor from CIET-NCERT, New Delhi. Sir, namaskar and very warm welcome to you.
Namaskar, thank you very much.
And we are also joined by Ms. Nidhi Adlakha Tuli. Ma'am is Senior Consultant Academic from CIET-NCERT, New Delhi. Ma'am, namaskar and very warm welcome to you too.
Namaskar.
And friends, as you all know that today, when we talk about NEP 2020, we talk about blended learning. When we talk about blended learning, we also talk about imparting education through both offline and online modes. And when it comes to immersive technologies, they are not just there in education. Of course, you've used them for entertainment purposes, but how they're making the content more joyful, engaging, and more interactive. Let's start with this question only. So Dr. Amit Ranjan, I would like to start from you. Just explain the topic to us. It's immersive technologies, AR, VR. What these technologies are and how they're playing an important role when it comes to the new education policy.
Sure. Let me start with the word itself, immersive, because we need to understand these terms as well. And as you know, I like to dissect the word, dig deep into it and understand what the word is about. So immersive is the same root as merge. So submerge, emerge and so on. So im, the prefix, means into. So into the merger, which is whatever you are with, you merge into it and you dive deep into it. So it's like an ocean of which you become a part. That is immersive. So if technology is an ocean, we dive into it and immerse ourselves into it. Yeah.
Okay.
So let me start with a little couplet from Amir Khusro, which is खुसरो बाजी प्रेम की उल्टी बाकी धार जो उबरा सो डूब गया जो डूबा सो पार, which means that the one who immerses, the one who dives deep is the one who wades through, is the one who will be able to go across to the other side.
True. And so that means that you have to actually immerse in the thing and you have to absorb it completely, right? And so are these technologies that engaging in nature? Like
of course, that remains to be seen with time, but of course as they are developing, they are engaging. And the real challenge is that these technologies have largely been in the sphere of gaming, in video games and so on, and to integrate them into the sphere of education is the challenge, and which is what is happening right now, and there are very interesting interventions in education right now to deal with it. So having understood what the word immersive is, we can then go to various components that we have to discuss today, which is virtual reality and augmented reality, 360-degree view, mixed reality. These are some of the terms. They sound heavy, but fairly simple to understand. In various sessions of virtual labs, we have already discussed what the word virtual reality is, but to break it down for you here again, virtual, now it sounds like an oxymoron. Oxymoron is when two opposite words are placed together. There is virtual, which is unreal, and there is reality, which is real. So, you are saying unreal reality. Now, what the genesis of this term is, so virtual comes from the word virtue, which comes from the Latin word virtualis, which is for effectiveness, efficacy, quality, which is a word you easily identify with virtue in life. He is a virtuous person, she is a virtuous person, and so on. It is a religious word actually, which means good. But now, anybody's goodness or virtue cannot be tangibly felt. You cannot touch anybody's, you cannot see anybody and say they are virtuous or not virtuous. So, it is a feeling, ehsaas hai. And because it is a feeling, then it becomes an adjective, virtual, that something which you know is there, you can feel, but you cannot exactly touch it. And that is what the virtual world is. You can feel it, you can see the actors playing out, you can see games happening, but the game is not really happening, the football match is not really happening. Inside the screen, it is happening somewhere else. So, you feel it, you cannot touch it. That is why it is virtual. That is how the word gets transferred from the word virtue, which means to be good, to be virtuous, to this state where anything digital is virtual. So, anything digital is virtual, and reality, as we understand, reality is a deeply philosophical concept, which is what is appended by an adjective like virtual, that there are various kinds of reality that philosophers have toyed with, tried to understand for several centuries. And so, the way we understand reality is what the mind comprehends as the truth of the world, the fact of the world. And so, virtual reality is something that you digitally perceive, but is real in a sense. So, this is what the term roughly means, but operationally what virtual reality is when you are in a situation where you are seeing a world which is entirely virtual, entirely concocted, created, but you are using headsets and you immerse so much into it that it starts feeling like it is reality. So, that is what VR headsets today, in the narrow sense we understand VR headsets. You put it on, you will have let us say a simulation of driving a car or a lab experiment where you can do things with your own hands, but it will really be virtual, though it has the feeling of reality. That is why it is known as virtual reality. The second part is augmented reality, which is when, so now this is where things get confusing, because virtual reality is still understandable, where the virtual world looks like the real world. But the augmented reality is something that people struggle with to understand what it is, and therefore, it is important to get into its meaning more carefully. So, to augment is to increase, to lengthen, to make anything bigger. And so, when you make reality bigger, so how is it different from virtual reality? In a way, virtual reality is also to make a reality bigger, in the sense that you immerse in it. But augmented reality is just a term to differentiate it from virtual reality. Augmented reality is a situation in which you project a virtual world onto a real world. You project the digital world onto a real situation to analyze. Say I have to put a sofa in this room that is in front of us, but we do not have a sense how it would look. So augmented reality softwares, applications will help you visualize when you see through a camera your room over here, how the sofa would look. So many marketing commercial websites and apps are using this, and of course its ramifications are multifarious. You can see what, for example, applications in fields like geography, astronomy. It's very difficult to understand in two-dimensional images how the globe would look, Earth would look rotating on its axis and so on. So in this sense, both virtual reality and augmented reality help in these kind of situations, help you visualize these ideas much better. But to differentiate virtual reality is when everything is completely virtual in the environment, whereas in augmented reality there is a actual background that exists in front of you, and you map something digitally as an imagination of how this reality would look.
Okay. And then you also talked about mixed reality, right?
Yes. So like I said, the two are sort of confused about, as in it's confusing to understand them separately. I hope I made it very clear. Virtual is when you completely immerse, everything is really unreal, virtual, whereas augmented is you have a real background and I have to place a sofa in this room, how does it look, is augmented reality, when you map digital onto the virtual. When we use both these kinds of technologies together, where in some cases you need complete immersion and you need half and half in some cases, you need a little bit of augmented to map how you want to visualize the building of the architecture of a building and so on in a certain space, you need augmented reality, whereas you can build the whole architecture in the virtual space. So you build the architecture of, let's say you're building a new college, you build the model in virtual reality. You can completely immerse yourself, but you want to look at where the space that you have actually got on ground, how it will fit in, how it will look, then you look at through it with augmented reality. Then there is the 360-degree videos which you've seen on television quite often while watching matches and so on, or while watching mega event spectacles, where let's say like panorama in a camera, you see one part, or like the elephant and 7 blind men, all the 7 blind men see different parts of the elephant and perceive it differently. The 360-degree view, let's say, gives you a rotational view of how the stadium looks, how the entire scenario looks. That's pretty easy to understand.
So sir, it is I think safe to say that these AR and VR technologies, they're making the books really energized. Books are coming alive because we have content that is interacting with the student. It's kind of self-instructional as well.
They are supplement to books, they're not really part of the books. Energized textbooks is something different. Energized textbooks is where, let's say you take an energized pen, point it towards words in the book, they read out the sentences and so on. That's energized textbook. And these are supplements to your textbooks where you need to understand concepts like rotation of the earth, how winter, summer happen, why the time in London is different from time at Allahabad, Prayagraj, and so on. Digging a little deeper into these concepts so that you remember it better, and also remember that things do not exist out of their context, outside of history, that it takes a long time to build these ideas, to build these concepts. So it's not overnight that virtual reality has come into being or augmented reality has come into being. So we do need to understand the histories of these. This famous French philosopher, Antonin Artaud, who was also a great playwright and has written a lot on theatre. So you also have to understand that these technologies are purely theatre. You're playing out, like you see a drama happening on a stage, is what happens in a VR headset, that you're playing out sort of a drama. So of course this can be used for literature lessons, but it's widely used for all subjects So instead of a real lab, you have virtual reality immersive lab, in which you're thinking you're mixing chemicals or experimenting with physical objects, but you're not. You have the illusion of that, which is what exactly happens in theatre. So actually this word, the term virtual reality, has been used as far back as 1938 by Antonin Artaud, the French playwright, who's written about lots of interesting concepts. So also to cross-cut, and since we talk about intersectional learning and such things, students are advised to look up who Artaud is and what his ideas about theatre are, and so on. So he used the idea of la réalité virtuelle, which is, he said that everything that happens on the stage is actually a reality that is virtual. So he used the word mirage, which in Hindi is Mrig Trishna or Marichika. Mirage, when you see water and it actually does not exist. That is what virtual reality is, isn't it? It seems there, but it's not there.
It's not there.
So Artaud talks about new kind of theatre in which people would also participate, that somebody from the spectator would get up and murder the protagonist on the stage or start shouting or things like that, in which there would be participation of everyone, there would be immersion, and that's why he calls it theatre as virtual reality, and it is his term actually. So it's a term directly from French theatre that you see in technology, but you think of it as most of us think that this has been coined by technologists or by computer gurus and so on, but no, everything has its basis in literature somewhere. Then there's also Morten Hillig, also a playwright and a drama theorist. In 1962, he talks about sensorama, which is closer to the virtual reality as we know today. So he talked about having chairs which would vibrate, like you go to these 7D movies in some places where the chair vibrates, then there'll be fog coming out, and today, these days in weddings also you see that there are crackers that are used and mist that is used. So Morten Hillig talked about all of this as sensorama, which means appealing to all your five senses, your sight, your sound, your smell, and that's how they thought of immersion into other worldly reality, and which is precisely what virtual reality is. And eventually the term as we know it today has been coined by somebody called Jaron Lanier, who in 1987, so the term already is about 40 years old, it seems. He used the term iPhone, not with I, but with EYE. That he imagined that there would be phones in which you'd be able to immerse and do everything, which is a reality. So all this started happening, let's say 30 years after his imagination, 1987 to 2017, but that's how science fiction works, that all that we manifest, what we imagine, of course we work towards it, it's not magic. And the other term, augmented reality, is actually a researcher at Boeing. And Boeing also people think of as a generic word for airplanes, but Boeing is a company. Like Xerox is a company. Xerox is photocopy is the word, and Xerox is a company. And so Boeing has become synonymous with aircrafts. And so Tom Caldwell, a researcher at Boeing, so for flight simulations, of course we understand that virtual VR would be very useful for flight simulations, where you immerse into it and you get, let's say, within the simulation there are planes coming onto you, there are different kinds of obstacles coming at you.
Real-time experience.
And you solve it. But then he also thought that there should be a real world also interacting with this virtual world. And so how to map this simulation onto the real skies or the real runway that you have to get down into. And that is how, and this would also be called virtual reality actually, but they had to differentiate the term, and that is why they use the word augmented. And augmented, as discussed earlier, the word augment means to make bigger, to broaden, which means to stretch the reality a little more, to help our imagination grasp abstract ideas. So for example, a flight has to come down onto a runway. Within virtual reality, you may be trained to do that, but then to do it in with the real runway is a difficult task. So then this idea of augmented reality comes, where they map the imaginary plane onto the real runway and see how you navigate it, how you maneuver it. Of course, these things cannot really be explained in words as effectively as when you practice it yourself, when you see it. And then there are other scientists like Milgram and Kishno who eventually led to the formulation of augmented reality as we know it today, which is mapping something digital onto a real world.
Right. So, sir, thank you so much for explaining these terms in such a detail, and of course, you not only told us how these terms were coined, but also what this concept actually is. Now, I want to ask you that how these technologies are aligning with the goals and recommendations set by National Education Policy 2020 when it comes to blended mode of learning.
Sure. Nidhi will tell us more about it, but I'll just give you an introduction to what NEP 2020 says. NEP 2020 is a very comprehensive, all-encompassing document that focuses on the most modern trends, what is required for the times that we are in, and for critical thinking.
Okay.
So, para 24.4D talks about a digital repository of content, including creation of coursework, learning games and simulations, augmented reality and virtual reality. Now, as we've seen, all these ideas are important for the times to come, because we have to be step to step with the rest of the world.
Yes.
And of course, this is the future, to be able to understand educational concepts better through these kinds of devices, VR and AR. And also, as you can see, this is talking about games, learning games. Now, games are very important to learning, which is something that has been researched upon. But unfortunately, until now, or traditionally, we understand games as separate from education, in all languages.
Yes.
There are proverbs in all languages, Hindi and English and other, where games are seen separate from education. So now there's a talk about integrating the two, and which is a very good idea. So let's say in our times we've been playing video games when we were teenagers and we get scolded for doing so, and I am sure students are going through the same now. And games are, so far the video games have been detrimental, because they are largely war games. You hunt, shoot, Contra and all those games, where it's basically going through obstacles through violence. Whereas the games we play in real life are very different. They are collaborative, they build teamwork, and so gamification in the virtual world is also now moving towards collaboration and building something constructive, having a positive outlook rather than a destructive outlook, as video games have traditionally been. So there is a lot of thrust on all these things, and there is a lot of development. So in our virtual labs also we have lots of word games, grammar games and so on to play.
Yes.
So existing and the other point in NEP is existing e-learning platforms such as DIKSHA, Swayam Prabha will also be leveraged for creating virtual labs, so that all students have equal access to quality, practical and hands-on experiment-based learning experience. So these are great initiatives of the government to make it a level playing field, so that it's not just rich schools, elite schools who have access to these kind of technologies, but these are completely free to air and available freely on the internet, all things that we do at NCERT. So all these platforms have a lot of things. They have course content, they have courses, they have interactive content, and virtual labs are also free, unlike lots of private parties in the market where you have to pay an annual subscription and so on. And so these need a good broader dissemination, but this will create a level playing field so that you can access it from anywhere if you have the internet.
Absolutely. Yesterday also we talked about DIKSHA, a platform which is freely available for everybody out there, and as you said that there are market players who are focusing on profits and making money, but DIKSHA has content for everybody, be it teachers, parents or teacher educators. You just mentioned that a while ago games and education were looked upon differently, but now they have been combined and integrated so that we can cater to the needs and requirements of various learners out there who learn things differently. So I'm sure that there is some kind of perspective behind the same.
I guess Nidhi, you can throw some light on the perspectives of policy regarding as vis-a-vis NEP 2020.
Sure, sir. So as sir has already explained that what National Education Policy 2020 talks about regarding virtual labs or virtual reality, augmented reality, or in short immersive technologies. So it talks about that the first thing is we should integrate technology in teaching and learning. We should focus on integrating technology so as to make teaching and learning a better experience for the learners. So the teachers should be able to use technology. So that means there should be digital literacy and they should be confident enough to utilize technology, and they should have awareness of a variety of technologies or softwares or initiatives which are available, which can be utilized and integrated in their teaching learning process. And not only it talks about the integration, but it also talks about the equitable use of technology. Equitable use means fair use. That means whether a child belongs to a rural area or an urban area, whether
they all should have access to
yes,
to technology. Absolutely.
So yes, sir. So not only we have VR headsets which are very expensive. So not every child can afford VR headsets. But they should not be devoid of use of technology, and that's why the resources are available on DTH TV channels also. So you have technology, you can integrate technology through TV channels, through radio, or through, like we have talked about virtual labs in other sessions also. Today also we are going to talk about that. So virtual labs are available for free on the DIKSHA platform. Like just now sir has talked about certain initiatives, and one of them was DIKSHA. So virtual labs are available for free. So if the child has a smart device, and even if the school doesn't have the facilities for performing experiments, then also children will be able to perform or to practice experiments or to understand the purpose of experimentation and develop the skills, basic skills. And that's how we are trying to ensure equitable use of technology. Then to utilize technology, we should have sufficient content, relevant content. So continuously content should be created and should be included in the digital repository. Like DIKSHA is a digital repository, and the content is available for various subjects, for different contexts, whether virtual labs for adult education or for vocational education. So the content is available, and continuously NCERT is trying to disseminate the information about various technologies so that everyone gets to know about it and can utilize it as effectively as possible. And the third thing which is very important is that we should try to follow blended mode of learning. So not only the child is learning in the classroom, but also they are getting the opportunity to study in online mode as well, so that they can have deeper knowledge. They can have the chance to study at their own pace also, and then can indulge in the discussion with the teacher as well. And the last thing is addressing digital divide, which we have already talked about while talking about the equitable use.
So Amit, this is amazing because we have good number of reasons that why we need to go for these technologies. You mentioned virtual labs. We are already having a training program and virtual labs as well. But how do you think that they're such an important tool and they hold really great significance when it comes to making the concepts really clear, especially the abstract concepts, and that too these labs are available across different disciplines?
So, virtual labs are very useful in understanding the concepts, whether a simple concept or a complex one, because when you are, first of all, there are multiple resources. Whether you are a person who prefers to read, then you can go through the information from theory and procedure, or if you prefer to study through animation or video, then the information is provided in that way as well. Then when you perform simulation, which is the replication of the physical lab, then you actually understand the concept in a better way, because you are performing each and every step. So while performing each and every step, you may think about that, why I have performed this particular step to get the particular result, why in this sequence only. So like you have said that they are able to understand the abstract concepts also. So many things which are imaginary, like one of the experiments is mechanism of breathing. So we can't look inside our body that how the thoracic chamber is increasing and decreasing, how the lungs are inflating, deflating. So all that is imaginary, and through virtual labs we get the chance to set it. We can do it in reality also as a model, science model also. So,
but that is much more expensive, cumbersome, and this creates the simulation. And also the great thing about virtual lab is that the feedback is instant, immediate. So you know what your mistakes are, and you can go over it again and again, repeat your mistakes till you
master,
till you get it right.
Yes, absolutely. So virtual labs also, you know, this idea was conceived keeping in mind certain objectives. They have great significance. So what are the special features of virtual lab, if you can just explain the same to us for different state students? Yeah.
Okay. So virtual labs are available for from class 6 to class 12th. So when we talk about class 6 to class 12, we are covering two stages as per NEP 2020, that is middle stage and secondary stage. Middle stage includes class 6 to 8th, and secondary stage includes class 9 to 12th. So in middle stage, when a child is in middle stage, there are different points which we need to focus on. Like if we are talking about pedagogy, so the children till now they have understood the concepts through the concrete things. They can see that thing and then they can understand it, that it is a square. So they look at the square block and they get to know, means a cuboid block, and they get to know that this is a cuboid. So from concrete they have to go to the semi-abstract concept. So they have to start imagining the things, and virtual labs help in understanding that yes, there are things which are not visible to us, but still they exist and they are working. So that is
or things that we cannot visualize the way they are, the three-dimensionality of it on pages of books, the two-dimensional imagination, especially of concepts in biology and geography, to understand Earth's rotation and seasons and so on. It's much more effective when you have a 3-day model, right?
Yes, like sir has said about seasons. So not everyone gets the chance to experience each and every type of season, but virtual labs can help in that.
Absolutely. And this is such an important topic. In fact, sir, you can also shed light on the cognitive and emotional development part of it, if you can just explain the same to us.
Yeah, sure. So virtual labs nurture, so there will be better observation definitely, because you will be able to see things differently in all their 3 dimensions and so on. So once you are able to visualize it better, let us say for example, time is a very difficult idea to understand for students, the time zones and so on. What if it is 5 p.m. in London, what time it should be in Delhi is difficult to understand. But once you see it in 3 dimensions, once you see the globe rotating, once you understand that it is according to longitude, that the sun's movement affects the rise and fall of sun, or sunrise and sunset, and that the 360 degrees of the sphere that Earth is divided into 24 blocks of 15 degrees each, and so on. When you see it really on a globe, you will be able to understand it much better. So, the cognitive development is towards the abstract, like Nidhi pointed out, is much easier through virtual labs. As far as emotional development is going, with access to more imagination, there would definitely be better reflective thinking and so on. But at the same time, when we are talking of emotional development, it comes always with a rider, and which is why to understand integration of technology and blended learning, it's not a one-way traffic. You do not understand it as technology has to be inserted into the current model or whatever. It's an interaction of the traditional models with the new models and a balance of it. And similarly for emotional development, like I say in all my sessions, there is no replacement for a textbook, for reading yourself, for imagining yourself. All these are tools, these are aids. Machines are there to help human beings, not to overtake them.
Absolutely.
And therefore, blended learning means balanced learning. It's not completely getting dependent on them also. Because eventually when you're talking of abstract thinking, you do not want machines to do the abstract thinking for you, but you to be able to visualize with the aid of these tools.
That's right.
And of course, the other features that we are discussing over here is experiential, which we have discussed in great detail, that you experience things when you, let's say, use a VR headset or an AR tool. So, you are able to investigate experiments and see how they work with various variables, do hypothesis testing. And so, all this when you work on a model, experiment with it through various, it's all about experience. And when you do something again and again, and a theory to be applicable, you have to use it with various models. So, in the virtual world, it's easier because in a real physical lab, it takes that much infrastructure, let's say chemicals in a chemical lab and so on. Whereas in the virtual world, it's virtual, it's there, digitally available to you. So, you can keep experimenting, and with that hands-on learning, your understanding will and your science process skills will develop better.
And then it comes to understanding part as well, you know, nature of science understanding is also one of the important aspect of virtual labs.
And Nidhi will be able to throw some more light on the pedagogical aspects of all the immersive technology.
Right.
Okay. So, Harpreet is also saying that nature of science, how nature of science can be understood with the help of these technologies, or if you talk about virtual labs, how it is understood that what actually is science. So, we need to understand that exploration. First thing is we should be able to explore the things which are around us, and definitely it can be done best when we do it physically.
Absolutely.
So, because we are able to touch it also, and it is available for free, the physical things. Like if you talk about nature, so nature is available everywhere. So if you touch the leaves, flowers, soil, so when you are touching them, then you are exploring how, what is the texture, how they look like, how they are different from one area to the other. But if like comparison, so that can be done more easily through technology. Because when you are exploring physically, you can explore only a particular area which is around you. So, one of the things which is very important to consider is the exploration. The other thing is that when we are exploring, when we are saying that yes, soil helps in the growth of the plant. So, is there any evidence? So, we do not have evidence if we are looking at a particular time, but if we are observing it in reality for a few days, we will be able to say that yes, soil supports growth of the plant. But if we do not have that much time to wait, that after 10 days I will be able to say that yes, I have seen it. So there is an evidence. So, but through virtual labs or through the other technologies, virtual reality, augmented reality, we can see that at the same moment. So just like sir has said, that these technologies are helping us in understanding the things and imagining the things, which we can do otherwise physically also, but it enhances our learning experience. Then it helps in performing the simple experimentation, that what actually it helps in understanding what experiment is, what a child has to do or what a person has to do while experimenting, what is the purpose, what we are supposed to, what is observation, what is inference, what is recording of data. So all that you can understand while performing activities either through virtual labs or through augmented reality. So many augmented reality apps also give you the chance to perform particular activities. You perform all the steps and you get to know that what is happening, why is it happening. So all that you are able to understand. You are able to think about it, logically think about it, reason about it, that why this is happening.
Yeah.
So you are not merely remembering the facts, but you are able to relate the concepts also.
With the, of course, real life scenarios, that's the beauty of virtual labs, right? So would you like to add on to it, because we are running short of time and we still want to know more about virtual labs, and it has got immense benefits. Is there something that you would like to add to these pedagogical aspects?
Yeah, sure. Nidhi has said, and whatever is on your screen, you're also seeing that, and we've discussed most of these thinking ideas, that it helps in critical thinking, in digital experimentation, and so on. But the point I'd like to emphasize, which Nidhi also was saying, that first you see things in the real world. Let's take the example of the growth of a plant that we're talking about. So first you touch the soil, you touch leaves, you touch the stem of a plant, and you see it grow. You observe it over a period of 10 days, 15 days. You see that your seed has sprouted, it's grown bigger. So it's also important to have a real idea of the physical world, and once again to emphasize on blended learning. Only then VR will work. So once you understand, but our let's say reach is limited. In whatever context we are, the number of trees, the kinds of trees and plants will be limited according to the climate conditions and other contexts. So we are in tropical regions or between tropical and temperate, so we have certain kinds of trees and so on. So we won't be able to experience what is happening in the Arctic Circle or at the equator and so on, and which is where once you have a feel of the knowledge through your own context, your surroundings, through your classroom teaching, that's when VR and AR will help you understand other concepts. Once you have a conceptual understanding of how plant growth takes place, what the role of soil is, what the role of minerals is, what the role of sunlight is, what photosynthesis is, and so on. And then once we have a basic understanding through our own context, we can go into deeper contexts of other places, and virtual reality can tell you what is happening on the North Pole, what is happening in Antarctica, what is happening in Congo and on the equator, and so on. So it's always supplementary. It's a three-pronged approach that we learn through our own experiences in the real world, and we are always taught by the wisdom of our teachers and elders, our peers. And then there is technology, which is a digital repository of information from across the world, across the universe, and all of these combined help us make our knowledge more sound.
Absolutely. I mean, you mentioned about the real life scenarios. You know, nobody actually carried an inch tape and measured the length of Mount Everest. So basically, we use the concepts from trigonometry. So once
technology is forever evolving.
Of course. So we see the concepts in real life, and then of course we use these concepts that are there in education, and we are making ourselves aware and correlating the both and understanding them, and not just cramming them. Again. Virtual labs are giving us many benefits. These benefits are there for the teachers, for the students alike. So if we can have some of the benefits from you, what would you like to highlight?
Well, of course, the main benefit is that you can correct your mistakes and as AI is getting more and more powerful, it'll be able to it'll do predictive analysis of let's say you just talk into a machine and it'll be able to tell what your speech patterns are, what mistakes you make, what are the filler words you use, like some people keep saying right, or Hindi mein takiya kalam kehte hain isko, things like that. Because we haven't talked about language learning yet through virtual labs, and as I've been pointing out in language lab sessions, that the biggest experimental ground is language itself, because there are so many users, it's such deep experience. So virtual labs will point out to you what your mistakes are in real time, so that you can correct them. And the main it's a benefit of virtual labs is you get feedback in real time, so you can practice more and more. But it has to be backed with a lot of, let's say in the case of language and literature, it has to be backed with a lot of reading and writing on your own, and this is an aid or tool to practice.
Right. And then you also mentioned about the feedback. You can give instant feedback when you are not understanding any concept on virtual lab as well. And now, sir, we are left with the last 2 to 3 more minutes. What more would you like to share about DIKSHA, about virtual labs, about these technologies, the main highlights of the session?
So, DIKSHA is a platform which is free for use for everyone, and is a repository of all kinds of knowledge base. There are videos, there are texts, and there are these virtual labs hosted on them. And like I said, so with all these simulations, videos, animations, self-assessment, other kinds of models, they are an opportunity for students and teachers in remote areas to be able to explore more. Of course, the digital divide still remains, and not everybody has good internet connection, but of course we are working in that direction. But it's democratizing education, it's making it available to more and more people.
And finally, you can share the link with all the viewers where we can access DIKSHA and these virtual labs eventually, and of course take the advantage of these AR and VR technologies. So here it goes.
It's simply diksha.gov.in, and
you can actually go to the link diksha.gov.in, and please make sure that
have a look.
You also can see the page, it's right there on the screen. So there's a little demonstration for all the viewers out there.
So when you do diksha.gov.in, a page pops up like this, in which the announcements about the courses that we have, the competitions,
and then we have focus areas of DIKSHA.
Yeah. And as you go down, the focus areas of DIKSHA is what we have been talking about basically. So there's the virtual lab, and there are other things like education for all, E-Jadui Pitara for pre-primary stages. But we've been talking about virtual labs. Virtual labs look like this. And then there are classes 6 to 12, grades 6 to 12 on this, in which we have content right now in Hindi medium and English medium. Not slowly we'll build into other languages as well. So for example, so you have to,
and we need to sign up or register
if you have a Google account, which we do have. We'll log in through that.
And then you can take the benefits and you can take the advantage of the content that's there in different languages.
Yeah, and it's absolutely free to air. You can go through. There is in all these lessons, there is a theory section, a simulation section, practice section. As you can see, theory, procedure, lab, self-evaluation, also references which books you can read, and also a feedback section for users to tell us how we can improve on all of these. So since we've been talking of simulation, it looks something like that.
Right.
So here we are looking at so here you can see that we have to place certain objects on the sofa and so on. So
as per the given instructions.
Yeah, we have run out of time, but it can be very exciting.
Yes.
Instead of the games that these games that are being built for education purposes are engaging as well as constructive in terms of imagination and not destructive in sense of the traditional video
Yeah,
game.
and I think we must not give a demonstration here more than this, because I think our viewers must visit our PM eVidya channel, must log on to our channel at 10 a.m. From Monday to Thursday, where we have virtual lab sessions, and then you can finally find out how you learn from these virtual labs. And because we do not have enough time left, I have to say goodbye, but please log on to our CIET website if you wish to attempt the assessment. Hope you have been watching all our sessions very carefully, and we can definitely thank our experts for their wonderful contribution to today's session, where we explored these AR VR technologies. Of course, they are immersive one, and do get immersed in them and absorb whatever you can. And thank you so much, Dr. Amit, Ranjan. Thank you so much, Ms. Nidhi, for your time and contribution to the session. And as I've already told you, that we're through with the session of day 3 under the umbrella theme of our training program, which is online and digital education in the lens of NEP 2020. And now you can watch what's coming up next, and here is the program schedule. So in a short while from now, there is a huge session. Please watch it and do participate with this. It's a wrap. This is me, Harpreet Kaur, signing off. Namaskar.